You ever have one of those moments where you catch yourself saying something and immediately realize, damn, that's exactly what my father used to say? Maybe it's the tone, maybe it's the impatience, or maybe it's the distant look, the one you promised yourself your kids would never see. That's when it hits you. You didn't just inherit your father's DNA, you inherit his patterns. Patterns of all kinds. Might be positive ones as well, but might also be very destructive ones. When I was a kid, my grandfather was a war veteran. He'd seen things no one should ever have to see. He never talked about it. He just carried it quietly, as many others did. And of course, no judgment here, but what that looked like for my father was a man who was physically there, but emotionally somewhere else. He loved him, no question. But presence, calm, emotions, those weren't even in his vocabulary. He worked like a machine because sitting still meant feeling something didn't know how to face. So he taught my dad, not with words, but with energy, that stillness is unsafe and that love has to be earned through performance. And that's what I inherited from my dad. That's a generational pattern many men are having and keep repeating. Not because they don't care, but because they were never taught how to feel safe enough to care differently. They were not taught that it's okay to talk about and to show emotions. Women women talk about emotions all the time, right? Without generalizing, but with their parents, with their friends, expressing their feelings. In that matter, they got a clear advantage. Most men have never said in their whole life something like, I feel sad, I feel lonely, I feel powerless, or I'm afraid of something. Big difference. And here's the truth most people don't know. You don't pass trauma on through genetics, you pass it on through your nervous system. Your kids don't learn who to be from what you say, they learn it from what you regulate. And if you live in constant stress, your son learns that tension is normal. If you're always distracted, your daughter learns that love means absence. If you explode when things get hard, they learn that power means losing control. But if you can breathe through the storm, if you can stay present in your chaos, they learn something completely different, that peace is possible. Now, before you start beating yourself up, hear me out. This isn't about guilt. Guilt keeps you stuck in shame. We don't want that. This is about awareness, because awareness is the doorway to change. When most fathers realize this, there's usually one emotion underneath it all, which is regret. Regret for the moments missed, the soccer game you didn't make, the bad time story you rushed through because your mind was still at work. That regret hurts because it's real. But regret can also be your greatest teacher if you let it wake you up. You see, every day your kids' brains are wiring around the emotional environment you create. From birth to roughly age 7, the subconscious mind is wide open, downloading how life works, what love feels like, and how safe the world is. Those years are your greatest window and you can't get them back. Every sigh, every raised voice, every moment of disconnection, it leaves a trace. But so does every smile, every moment you kneel down, every time you stay when it would have been easier to withdraw. You're writing your child's inner script every single day. The question is, what story will they inherit from you? And this is the part most men never think about. You're not just raising your kids, you're raising their future relationships, their self worth, their way of handling conflict, love, intimacy, and trust, their nervous system. If you grew up with a father who was distant, angry, or unpredictable, that wound didn't just vanish when you become an adult. It shaped how you perform, how you love, how you lead. And unless you do the inner work to reprogram it, you'll pass it right along. Not intentionally, just unconsciously, because that's how trauma works. It repeats until it's healed. Now I get it. You're doing your best. You're providing. You're making sure that they have what you didn't. That's honorable. But there's an uncomfortable truth. Your kids don't need a perfect provider. They need a present one. They need a father whose eyes light up when they walk into the room. A father who can apologize. A father who can stay open even when he's angry. Because that's how they learn emotional intelligence, right? Not from lectures, but from modeling. You can tell your kids to communicate their feelings all day long, but if they see you shut down when things get hard, that's what they'll copy. They won't remember your advice, they remember your energy. Now, let's get real about why this is so hard. Most men were never given emotional safety as children. You were taught to man up, to stop crying, to get over it. So you learn to perform strength instead of feeling it. You build a career, a body, a life, but deep inside, you're still that little boy who just wanted to feel seen and safe. And every time stress hits, the boy takes the wheel. That's when you disconnect. That's when you numb. That's when you throw yourself into work or alcohol or your phone because feeling feels dangerous. But that's not weakness, that's programming. And programming can be rewritten. Here's the paradox. Your greatest act of strength as a father isn't protecting your kids from the world. It's protecting them from the unhealed parts of you. That means learning to regulate your system, to pause before reacting, to face your own pain instead of projecting it, to do the inner work that your father never had the tools to. When you heal, the whole lineage heals with you because generational trauma ends with that one man at a time. The moment he decides it stops with me. But that decision can't wait because your kids are learning now. The neural wiring is being shaped today. You don't get to hit pause and come back when life slows down. The clock doesn't stop for fatherhood. You either build memories or you build regret. And you'll never get these years back. So the real question is, when your kids are grown, what version of you will they remember? The provider, the achiever, or the man who finally broke the cycle? When I look back at my own father now, I don't blame him at all anymore. He was doing the best he could with what he had, but the unhealed pain became my blueprint. Also, for years, I followed it until I finally realized I had a choice. I didn't want to pass that same quiet disconnection forward. I wanted to give what I never received: safety, emotional presence, peace. And that required unlearning almost everything I'd been taught about being a man. It wasn't about softening, it's about integrating power and presence, discipline and depth. That's what I now call the integrated man. A man who doesn't run from his pain, but transforms it into purpose. Who doesn't suppress his emotions, but leads through them with grounded strength. Who creates safety, not just for his family, but for himself. Inside the Integrated Man protocol, this is the work we do. We dismantle the subconscious programming that keeps men disconnected from their partners, their kids, from themselves. We rebuild your nervous system from the ground up so you can show up calm, clear, and connected, not just at work, but at home. Because fatherhood isn't just a role, it's an energetic legacy. And the way you show up, moment by moment, is the story your children will tell about love, safety, and strength. So let me ask you, What kind of man and father do you want to be? Your kids or wife don't need a superhero. They need a safe man, and a man who has faced his own shadows and learned to lead from peace, not pressure. So if you're ready to start that journey, if you're done repeating patterns and ready to break them, there's a link below for a free call. It's not a pitch, it's a conversation about legacy, about your lineage, about what kind of father and man you choose to be. Because one day your kids will tell stories about you. Make sure that they're telling stories of healing, presence, love, peace, and support, not inheritance. The cycle ends with you, and it begins the moment you decide to become the father you never had.